Hey guys, Tat here. Today, let's talk about the primary weapon system Mark 111.
Good enough for me.
How does the brass?
I do want to explain that this upper receiver was sent to me by Covert Tactical, biggest supporter of my channel by far, with no monetary backing, no reason to make this firearm look good. He has no relation to PWS. I have no relation to PWS. There's no conflict of interest. It was just sent to me. He said, hey, beat it up and let me know what you think. And then I decided to do a video review on it. So no conflict of interest there. Now, this is a piston-driven system. That's kind of the big deal for me, kind of why I wanted to get my hands on it and get a review of it. So this is a piston-driven system, which is different from the direct impingement that a lot of us may be used to with most of our ARs. Before I get too into what this is, let's kind of talk about what it means to be piston-driven. So what is a direct impingement system? So a direct impingement system has that kind of bolt carrier group that we're all used to. We're used to taking apart things of that sort. The way that functions is you have a bullet that is firing through your barrel, and behind that bullet is a lot of gas, right? And that's what's propelling the bullet forward. Once the bullet passes the gas block near the, well, I guess it kind of depends on how it's set up, whether it's mid-length or full-length gas systems thing. But that's besides the point. What's important is once the bullet passes the gas block, the gas enters the gas block and travels down the gas rod and interfaces with the gas key on the bolt carrier group. That pushes the bolt carrier back into your buffer spring, your buffer system, allowing a round to be loaded into the AR, and then the spring pushes the bolt forward, thus chambering another round. That's generally how that works. Now, in this video, I'm not going to get too in-depth into the difference between a direct impingement system and a piston system. I can do that in a different video if you really care, but there's 100 videos on YouTube I'm sure you can look into. That's besides the point. Basically, long story short, piston-driven systems are, they've been used in dirtier environments and with suppression systems and things like that. So here you have the entire piston system, the interaction of all of this. This is the charging handle. Goes into the bolt carrier group, which is all the same, kind of as your standard bolt carrier group with the gas system. That's a little different, and with the piston here. Comes apart the same, you do the same method of taking apart a bolt carrier group, but just so you can see it's all one part. So let's go tip to butt on the way I have this set up. First off, I have my Griffin Armament suppressor on here. This is a gassy suppressor, which is important in a few moments. We'll talk about it. So initially this comes with an A2 flash hider. My guns don't work with A2 flash hiders, or my suppressors don't work with A2 flash hiders, so I have to put my own muzzle devices on. I initially had a flash hider on here, and I actually liked it. I liked it a lot, but I wanted to know if there was any felt differences in recoil or action speed or anything like that with a brake as opposed to a flash hider. So I then put the easy brake on it, and I could step it up to an actual larger brake, but part of me feels like that disrupts the point of an 11.5 if I'm adding, 2 or 1.5 to the end of it. So that's my muzzle device. Back from there, we have an adjustable gas block. The adjustable gas block was actually really nice. This was the first time I've shot an adjustable gas block of my own. And it's really cool because for me, using the can that I had on it, using this Griffin Armament can, it's a very, very gassy can. And because of that, I get a lot of gas coming back through the system. The adjustable gas block kind of allows me to adjust how much gas I'm getting back to me, kind of to my face and through the system. So the adjustable gas block in this system has 3 settings. The first is for unsuppressed use. The second is for suppressed use in suppressors that have low back pressure. And then the third would be for suppressors like mine that have a lot of back pressure, a lot of back gas. It was really cool actually dealing with the different settings and different suppressors and how the adjustable gas block changes the felt recoil impulse and all of that good stuff. So back from there, we're on an 11.5 inch barrel using their M-Lock rail. The optic I have on here is a lead and steel Promethean LP1. I'll be doing a review on that later as well. Really nice device. It's a red dot. And then it comes with the ambi charging handle, and it's on just one of my lowers that I have. So everything else is the same. I can swap between direct impingement upper and this upper the same I would swap through any other upper receivers. So no issues or differences there really. And coming off of that point, there are pros and cons to running piston systems. I was very excited to get my hands on this because, like I said, this would have been the first piston upper receiver that I would have shot on like my piston upper receiver. So I could play with it and mess with it and all that. And as I go through the gas settings and all of the changes that I can make, I did notice that you can make a dramatic difference in felt recoil. There's no doubt about that. From the first setting to the third setting, there are dramatic differences with and without a suppressor. Of course, as you increase through the settings, if you don't have the appropriate amount of back pressure from your can or lack of can, the gun won't cycle, so you kind of have to find the balance that works for you and your gun. I shot mine again on the highest setting, that third setting. A lot of people just like to keep it on 2, that intermediate setting, and some people shoot it suppressed just on 1. So the rail itself is an M-Lock rail with the Picatinny on top, and then the slot cut out of the Picatinny for the gas block. You can run your standard M-Lock attachments on this just like you can anything else. I did not have any attachments on this. I didn't put a light on it. I didn't put any IR devices on it. I just have the optic. I didn't do any night vision shooting with this gun, or night shooting at all, and I didn't really feel like I was going to put attachments on it just to put 1,000, 2,000 rounds through it. A lot of people would call primary weapon systems, they would classify them as a nicer brand of guns. I know there's like a Grand Thumb video out there where he compares it to an HK because he kind of puts them in the same echelon. I didn't really see, I don't know, maybe definitely within 1,000 rounds or 2,000, within 1,000 rounds, it was difficult to tell where this lies. Was it accurate? Yeah, but any gun would be accurate within 1,000 rounds, and I'm not here to say that this gun is incredible or that this gun is bad. More so just kind of give my impressions of it within 1,000 rounds. We did torture it a little bit. You can see here. Good, whenever you're ready. Let's say you forget your optic and your firearm on the back of your car, your truck, and you're going home for the day. And now the big question is it still zeroed? After all of that, it functioned. It functioned well. There was no hiccups. Dropping it off the car, dropping it from higher up, submerging it in water.
I'm gonna regret this because this is my favorite lower receiver, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh boy. Oh, I hope that doesn't ruin everything.
Oh boy. There you go.
Water and mud and all of that didn't really interfere with it too much. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have to change the gas pressures based on the environment. I didn't have to take the suppressor off. Yeah, I didn't have to take the suppressor off at any point. There were no qualms. It functioned, and you know, we've put a lot of firearms in the water and the mud that maybe didn't function as well. You know, there's a few videos that we have of different systems failing, and this didn't. So, you know, good for it. Could it be due to a number of things? Possibly. Could it be due to less mud getting on the gun? I mean, maybe. The gun's still a little bit dirty, but you know, not very much. So, so it was used. It was thrown around, and everything was appropriate. I think it functioned great. I have no qualms with it. I think it's an enjoyable firearm. I think it's a reliable firearm. I didn't notice any shift in the optic. Speaking as to the function of the rail and the upper receiver, there's no cracks in it. We were debating driving over it, but there was no published data that I could find on what its like upper tolerance of weight is. So we kind of held off, because why would we do something that would like guarantee crack an upper receiver if we don't have to? That being said, I did have a good time. It was enjoyable. It was reliable. I did have a decreased sense of recoil, and the recoil did feel more linear to me. I don't know. I don't know if the proprietary parts are worth the inconvenience, you know? I guess it's not that inconvenient in this day and age. You can just get the proprietary parts. But there wasn't a dramatic difference between this and a direct impingement firearm. You can put an adjustable gas block on a direct impingement firearm. It's not hard to do. And you can get that same advantage. You know, the advantage, however, of less moving parts and less likely to kind of break down in its reliability. Well, you know, again, if you're going to compare this to an HK, is there really an advantage? Maybe at 20,000 rounds, but I didn't get there on this firearm, so I can't necessarily speak to that. Reaching out to others who've shot the gun, who own the gun and have had it for a long time, they have no complaints. But also, very rarely do I find complaints of anyone with an AR. I mean, jokingly, of course, when you're talking to like AK guys, but it's a reliable weapon system, and I don't personally think that for myself, I would make the switch to a piston-driven primary arm. I would throw one in my collection for sure. That'd be really cool to have, and you know, use it as a range toy or push its limits. But for me, I just don't necessarily see it. The rail itself comes apart just like any other rail. There's 2 screws that you can remove and then just pop the rail off. Unless you have like a BCM, MCMR or something, those things don't move. But other than that, it was very simple to take down, which I had to at one point because there was a problem with the gas block. But I think that was more user error than anything else. I think maybe I twisted the adjustment a little too far and tried to fire. The adjustment dial on the gas block, there we go, popped off, and I'm working on putting it back on now. Don't know how it happened, just cycled around and it popped off. So I'm taking apart the handguard to fix the gas block on this gun. So what happened? How did this pop off?
Oh, right here?
You think that's it? You think that's all it takes?
I mean, that'd be way too easy, it seems like, eh?
Yeah, I feel like that's not safe.
But also, up
Okay.
until like a couple days ago, I didn't realize you couldn't plug in the target and not.
Still together. I think we're good. I think we fixed
They're a
it.
little valuable.
But that was an easy fix. If you guys want more information on the actual weapon system itself, feel free to reach out, or you can just go to Primary Weapon Systems or watch any of the dozens of YouTube videos on the weapon system. I just wanted to give my own opinion. I think it's cool, but I wouldn't necessarily make the jump and make all of my guns piston-driven uppers. That's all. Now, before I go, a bit of medical advice for you. The importance of cervical C-spine. So I was on the way to work the other day, and I had witnessed I didn't witness it, it happened just before I got there, but a motor vehicle collision. It was a one vehicle collision, it was a motorcycle. Dude kind of swerved off to the side of the road, I guess hit the rail, and was just laying on the side of the road. I had gotten there, and there were actually, because I was on my way to work and close to the hospital, there were a few nurses and a few like physical therapists there. And none of them really knew what they were doing. Of course, you don't expect them to know what they're doing. They're not necessarily ATLS certified. So, you know, this guy was on the floor. He was laying on his back on the phone, moving left and right. You know, he's like spitting a lot for whatever reason. But they were just kind of letting him do all this stuff. And it's very important to, even if you don't know anything, even if you don't know CPR, even if you don't know how to manage an airway, or how to reduce a dislocation or anything like that. I think the very least you can do in a lot of these traumas, especially if you know that they're bad, like a motorcycle on a freeway and a dude without a helmet, stabilize C-spine. You know, you can, if I'm at the head of the person, you can put your hands on their shoulders and stabilize their neck with your forearms. You don't want them moving around. You don't want them possibly breaking something or fracturing something or worsening an injury that they already have and paralyzing themselves. And you also don't want to paralyze them with anything you're doing. So until like EMS gets there and they can put a real C-collar on them, I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. So if you're going to do nothing else in a trauma that's like actually pretty bad, stabilize C-spine. All right, guys, Tat Doc out.
Both of those. I'm not trying to get on my shirt.
What are we doing?
I don't know what's happening.
There you are. That thing is over.